late night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack you.
Radio.
Sack you.
Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Dude, what are you listening to?
What are you talking about?
What do
This
you
is Sugar Hill Gang.
Okay, don't touch the mic. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm about to hit this button right here. Just let me listen. You do your job. You let me know when we're live, Sacco. You don't worry about what Sean and I are listening to while we're prepping.
Put your phone up to the mic. I want people to hear what you're listening to right now.
We're not live right now. It's Sugar Hill Gang. Ken knows it.
Ken knows. How's it go? Hip hop.
Hip hop. No,
Are we live right now?
Boogie it up, jump the boogie up.
You're live in 2 seconds. Ready?
Yes.
1, 2.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show on the 17th of December, 2014. I am your host, Sackhead Sean. Sitting to my right is the other host, Sackhead Clint. Sitting in the cage in the corner is Sacco.
They can't see that I am to
Sackhead.
your right.
Sacco. I am explaining to it
And I'm to Sacco's left.
When they close their eyes and they imagine it, they know exactly how it's supposed to be. What are you doing to your mic? Oh, man. First the button, now the mic, and we are in serious trouble. That's right. All the adults are in bed and all the kids are in charge here on the Sackheads Radio Show. We do have the con, and we are on the attack. How are you this evening, my friend?
I'm great. So here's how this went down tonight.
Okay.
And I don't know how much people heard because nobody tells me ever when we go live. So
Yeah.
first it starts.
It's a we problem,
So,
not a me problem.
First it starts when Sean and I go into the restaurant to grab a wee bite to eat.
Just a wee bite.
And the gal seating us says, "For here to go."
Well, we asked for a table.
Right. And she said, "For here to go." And we said, well, we can go if you really don't want us like sitting here. She was like, no, you're fine. And I said, look, if we're not attractive enough to be sitting in here, I get it. I mean, we do have faces for radio.
I was shocked, though. She said, hi, we'd like to table for two, for here to go. The table or the food?
Right.
Are you giving us a table? Because I'll take it. They were nice tables.
Right. And then she said, no, we're carry out only. And we look around and there's people sitting down
There's about 19 people sitting.
at tables.
But we're carry out only.
That's
so.
Sacco.
No. No, here we go. Here we go. They're going to have to fix stuff now. So to go on with the story, which is even betterer. So then Clint in all of his majesty, and when I say majesty, I mean insanity, opened his straw and broke it. I mean, right? You broke it almost immediataimmediately, the straw.
Oh, yeah. No, it was huge.
And
The straw wasn't huge.
and then you proceeded
But
to tell the our waitress that your immense strength was the reason that the straw broke without any sort
And
of
hang
issue.
on. Now, to be fair, she agreed.
Yes.
Very rapidly. And she got doe eyes, and her knees went weak momentarily,
I'm not going
and
to
she immediately threw out another straw and said, do it again.
I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure she wasn't sure if we were going to eat or rob the place. She looked at us very concerned the entire time.
She said what, Clint?
She said, do it again. Just like that. Just like that.
Yeah, no, it was uncomfortable. And by the way, make sure we follow their orders next time we go eat. There is pants on, apparently.
I didn't know that.
It said come and be comfortable.
Right. The website was pants optional, I
Wait,
thought.
So after you change his diaper, you let him run loose like that? I don't get it.
You make one YouTube video.
Yeah.
You make one YouTube video.
And you're scarred forever.
And I'm scarred for life, yeah. Now I'm the diaper guy.
The diaper guy.
Hey, diaper guy. No, my name's Clint. Come on, guys.
So that's how we spend our day before we're...
well, hang on. The story's not done.
Oh, no, it is.
So we're talking business over dinner for anybody listening at the IRS. And I don't know how it came up, but you started saying hip hop or somebody said hip hop, and I said
the hip hop, the hippie to the hip.
Right.
And you just started singing, which, it was
and then you stood up and high-fived me, and we ended up doing the Kid and Play, which was kind of weird.
Right. I was very shocked by that.
Especially since it was spontaneous.
And I haven't done a windmill dance in a long time.
No. You did the best Running Man when the check came. It was great.
Yeah. I do that every time the check comes. I Running Man right out the door. And which was even better because I had my boombox with me. And my Z Cavaricis with my buckle shoes. So I was really, really, I was dialed for the night.
And then you picked up that piece of linoleum and your Pumas, and it was just all bad from there in the parking lot. So it's been kind of an interesting week over here at SHR Media. What are you even doing over there? I have to paint this picture. So Sacco is sitting down, and he looks like the Unabomber. Literally, a hairy little Chewbaccan Unabomber. Because he's got his hoodie up, and then he's got his Beats for Dre or whatever they are over the outside of his earphones, outside of his hood, and he's looking kind of like he's skulking around the soundboard. And then Sean goes over there and snuggles up next to him, and they're looking very busy.
I'm as busy as I possibly can be.
Right, which was kind of weird. But you leaned in and you pursed your lips.
Well, yeah, I was concerned. That's my concern look.
But when you pursed your lips, they were perched very closely to Sacco's right ear.
Well, I had to whisper because you were on the air and we were trying to resolve an issue. So I couldn't just come out. So the easiest thing I could do is whisper
come out.
Sweet
Look,
somethings.
this is 2014. You can just come out.
Oh, there's some days I hate you.
Winter meetings. The Red Sox make any good moves?
No. During the winter, not a lot happened for the Red Sox. We did lose our opportunity. John Lester signed with the Cubs.
Saw that.
Pretty upset about that, but we're hoping, hopefully we can tie up a pitcher here soon. That's going to be a decent replacement. Replace John Lester. The guy's a stud. So that's a big hit for us. What about you guys?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. I swear.
Oakland got rid of Moss.
Yep.
Josh Donaldson.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
Well, the winter meetings, and this is what's changed, and everyone's like, oh, good, this has just turned into a sports show all of a sudden. The winter meetings used to be a big deal.
We have 6 minutes left, and we
General
routinely talk about
I know, and we'll get right into our topics. But the winter meetings used to be a big deal, where a lot of big moves are made. The last couple of years, it's kind of gone dormant, because big moves are made all year now.
Right.
And so I used to watch the winter meetings and follow them religiously, and now I could care less because not a lot is done. It's just a waste of time. So,
by the way, I love your shirt that you have on right now.
My G.I. Joe shirt?
Yeah. So Sean has a G.I. Joe shirt, and on the front
the original
G.I. Joe. Yeah. It actually still says a real American hero on it before they turned communist or UN or whatever the hell they are now.
Not a real world hero.
Right.
Real planetary hero.
And I think it looks like Doc is actually driving.
No, it's Breaker.
Oh, is it Breaker?
That's Breaker, yeah. Dude.
I don't know. It looked like Ken.
No, it's Breaker. No, I know. Ken looks like Doc.
Ken does look like Doc.
Right, but
who also looks like Sundowner from Top Gun.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Good call on that.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that his parents modeled him after Doc from G.I. Joe.
Hey, while I have the opportunity, I want to say thank you to everybody who's checking us out in the chat room right now at shrmedia.com. If you want to join the talk, the conversation, and have your points ignored by the hosts of this show, make sure you jump into the chat room at shrmedia.com.
Yeah, talk amongst yourself. We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, no, I know. We pretty much just have conversations with ourselves constantly. That's exactly what we do.
All the time. Ken had an amazing show tonight, did he not?
Ken he has an amazing show every night. I kind of get sick of saying that.
Why?
Because, I get jealous after a while. And here's something about the exceptional one who's on Monday through Thursday here on the SHR Media Network at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, is...
Oh my gosh!
What? It was just a plug. It's called a plug. I get paid for that.
It's called a plug, not the kind you're used to, Sacco. Just sit over there.
But every night he has an amazing show, and tonight he had, Liz Loris, who is just an absolutely awesome human being. She joined him tonight, and then he brings me in. He's talking to probably one of the most beautiful conservatives on the face of the planet. There's no doubt about it.
What, you?
No, Liz.
Oh.
And she's brilliant to boot. A veteran. She served our country. She's and then he brings in a mook like me to
Why?
talk at the same time. Why he would put me on the spot like that? Nobody cared what I had to say. He wanted me to come and teach him how to properly pronounce Cuba,
Okay.
which I did. But
Why didn't he call the Portuguese one for that?
Well,
Why did he call Irish guy?
there's a reason. He doesn't like you. I keep trying to tell you that.
I know, but I don't believe it. I'm going to try and win him over one day.
But at the end of the day, you want to talk about pressure. I have to come and bring something to the table when he's talking to Liz. I bring nothing to the table wherever I go.
Period.
Nothing
Right,
at
like
all.
ever.
Like horrible. And he brings me just too much
That's not
pressure.
true. You bring empty plates to the table.
I do bring empty
Right,
plates.
empty
yep.
glasses and cups and used napkins to the table.
And I bring them away from the table when everyone's done eating.
No, you bring food away from the table even before anyone else is eating.
Yes, exactly. So there was just a lot of pressure, but all joking aside, Ken is a beautiful person. We love Ken. He is the exceptional conservative for a reason, and we thank him for being with us every night here. Just awesome stuff. Also, check out the Evan Miller Report here on the SHR Media Network at 5 p.m. Pacific. Saturday night, you get the Outcry Radio with Rooster, and on Sunday, you have Reverb Common Sense with Jersey Joe. And after the new year, we're going to have some surprises for you, so we're working on it.
Are you done with all the commercials?
No, within the first 15 minutes, it's in my contract. Go.
That's true. We actually have a great show lineup. So there are several things that came about this week, but the most recent things, I was kind of going through and following topics all week like I always do, but ended up settling on some more recent ones within the last couple days. So I'm actually very excited about this show. And some
I
of
am
the
as
things
well.
we're going to be talking about.
It's a big show.
It is
really big
really big
show.
show. It's
Really
really
big.
big. Jinx. First up, we're going to talk about the Missouri school that's stealing, air quotes, canes. Not candy canes.
No.
But white blind kid canes. Then we're going to talk about Obama saves us from the world superpower of Cuba.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
If
he's
it wasn't
here.
for him, where else would we
Yep.
be?
Matchup of the night, North Korea v. Sony.
Matchup.
I think I'm going to nominate DB of the week as Kim Jong-un.
Oh,
And that's Kim Jong-un releasing a movie.
I'm gonna go the opposite of that. I'm gonna go with the CEO of Sony. Actually.
Okay. We have federal judge spanks Obama. Not literally that we know of.
Right. We cannot deny nor prove.
Right. We don't know that he literally spanked him, but verbally he did. We also have, quote, "Help me, I'm falling." And that's a direct quote from the ruble. So we'll be talking about that. What?
Nothing. I thought it was amazing that you were able to get that from the ruble.
Yeah. We asked for a statement, and that's the response we got. We also have a couple standby segments just in case.
Yeah, we try to bring everything we can to the table. So
basically, our A game.
We do. Try
and bring.
Dude, if this is our A game,
our
we're
A
in
game
so much trouble.
And ninja moves.
If we are in so much trouble, if this is our A game, let's jump right into it. A Missouri school steals a cane, not candy,
not McCain,
from a blind child. Now, this is something that you told me about, and I was shocked. And
I was angry.
It was
like I was angry
furious.
when I read this.
I was
and
furious.
I know you were too.
And disgusted. It's definitely one of those things where I wanted to be angrier than what I was, honestly, but I was saddened. And it's kind of that weird duality of emotion, if you
As
will.
a parent, it saddened you.
Just
sure.
as a human being.
But as a parent,
Yeah.
I was saddened as a parent. I was angry as a human being.
Yeah, I'll go with that. But it was just too many emotions. So you have this young man who was born without eyes at all. Beautiful little boy, absolutely beautiful. His picture, you could just tell, full of life, great young man, and he needs a cane to walk around, obviously, because he can't see. And so he has his visual aid cane, and the school. He's on the bus one day, and the story is he's on the bus and he's kind of tapping the cane around. And according to his father, he just does that. It's part of just how he keeps the cane moving. And if you've ever watched or known anyone who needs a cane when they walk for visual impairment, they constantly move the cane because it's checking the terrain. It almost becomes second nature, like tapping your foot, tapping your hand, things that people do, biting your fingernails. A lot of them, and I know somebody who walks with a cane, they'll tell you you just develop it as it's constant because your body's just muscle memory. Mm-hmm. In the process, he may or may not have tapped another student. Not hard. He didn't whip him with it.
He's not going to stand up and cane somebody like he's
literally.
in the Philippines. Right.
And the bus driver freaks out and reports it to the district office here at the middle school. What was the name of the school? I can't even remember off the top of my head.
It doesn't matter. It was a Kansas City
somewhere
school.
in
It was
Kansas City.
Grace Moore Elementary School.
Grace Moore Elementary School,
and the
which
North
we
Kansas
did reach
City
out for
School
comment,
District.
and they have not returned our call.
Correct.
But this bus driver tells us why he would even freak out or she would even freak out over this. This is just ridiculous.
You know what? I have a new nominee, douchebag of the week.
Number 2. Well, this is just ignorance. This isn't even intentionally debagging. This is just ignorance. So he or she reports it to the main office. The main office says, "Oh, we can't have students assaulting other students with any sort of devices or anything like that. So we're going to solve this problem."
And the school did furnish the cane.
The school did furnish the cane.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to solve this problem. How are you going to solve this non-problem? Because now you're just going to fix something that's not even broken.
And how? Yeah. What are you going to do? Take the cane?
Well, yeah.
Would that not be an ADA violation?
But we're not just going to take it away. We're going to replace it with something that's a little more safe. A pool noodle. You know those styrofoam noodles that you float around in the pool with?
Yes.
So this young man who's born without eyes, who's,
Gets
I
his
believe,
cane
8
taken
years
away.
old,
8 years,
trying to
8-year-old
learn his
boy.
way through life without being able to see, has his cane taken from him and replaced with a pool noodle. This is the biggest insult to a human being that I can recall in a long time. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. You have a person who's impaired, who relies on that cane to get around.
Who's a kid?
Who is a child. And not even a kid. Like, I always think kid is like 10 to 14 years old, like that in my head. He is a child who, on top of all the other things that he has to deal with in life, learning to go through life without seeing. I'm sure there's some 8-year-old commentary that come around and some people who make jokes or whatever. All that aside, he's trying to be able to navigate a dark world with his cane and learning how to use it. And they're going to take that away and give him a pool noodle. Folks, if this doesn't sum up the friggin' problems we have as a nation, seriously, our schools that are just this helicopter mentality that we have of we have to make everything safe, everything has to be perfect, blah, 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 blah. This is the kid that gets suspended because he made the finger gun thing. This beats all of that.
Here's what killed me. The boy made a statement to the local news down there, and this statement killed me. And the son said, well, first of all, he goes to his sister's concert or something like that holding this pool noodle. So he's actually using it.
Yes.
Which makes me sick. But the boy says, quote, "It's a lot harder with this. I can't feel things."
Yeah, because part of the whole thing with walking
How
canes,
sad is that? Like the kid, he's just like, it's.
I can't feel anything.
Yeah,
you've taken away his mobility.
It's a lot harder with this. I can't feel things.
And for people that don't know, visually impaired people with canes, that cane is almost like it becomes their eyes. They feel out ahead with it into curbs, whatever you have. That is their eyes. And it's stiff for a reason, because it gives them immediate warning if they're about to step into a hazardous situation.
It can sense change in terrain.
A bunch of things.
Yes.
You can go on forever.
Yep.
And it's
asphalt, concrete. I mean, yeah.
Little potholes,
This
whatever it
made me
is.
sick.
And it just makes me sick. And then for this school, and listen, if they got him maybe a shorter cane while he was on the bus and in school because of narrow hallways, or so he's not bumping into other people and tripping them and himself, like if they came up with a solution that was legitimate.
But you can't tell somebody with disabilities what cane works best for them.
Right.
Right?
Right. But
That's a great way to get yourself
in a lot of trouble.
in a lot of trouble.
Well, and that's what I'm...
Look, I'm not a big government guy, but I think
This is an ADA issue
I think it's an
like
ADA
you wouldn't
issue.
believe.
Absolutely. But is this a form of bullying? Was this done to demean the child, or as some form of punishment? Was it punitive? I think it was. I think it was punishment. Why else are you going to take a cane away?
Well, because they have to solve the problem. And this is when I think it's ignorance.
But they can't take somebody's
right.
medical...
I'm not saying... No. But I think this is ignorance. I don't think they gave him the pool noodle to make a point out of him. I think this is pure ignorance.
He could feel with a pool noodle.
Right. Some knucklehead moron administrator said, oh, well, it's almost the same thing. It's just softer, so when he bumps into people, it doesn't hurt as much. And I'm going to give him a pool noodle, and I just solved the problem. And you know what? I'll probably get some sort of award for this because I'm a fixer. I solve all these problems in the world. No, you're an asshole. You insulted that kid. You insulted his family. He has to walk around with a damn pool noodle because you are so self-absorbed and think that you have to solve every little damn issue. You're like the federal government, except you're an administrator, that you hand him a pool noodle. If that was your child, it wouldn't happen.
What I was thinking about that. What would I do if that was my child?
I'd probably be in
administrator
jail.
do that.
I'd probably be in jail. I would snap. I would snap like a twig. And when
Would
you
you
hear
hit
about
the administrator over the head with the pool noodle? How awesome would that be?
You're right. This doesn't hurt, so I'm just going to wail on you for about
Right.
35 minutes
Obviously,
with
this
it.
is safe.
I would have a hard time with this because, I hear about parents getting arrested all the time for just speaking out against administrators
Or banned from school.
Right, or as soon as you
whatever.
disagree, all of a sudden it's like disorderly conduct. They call the police and, well, did you use a direct tone? Yes, I used a direct tone. Okay, then that was disorderly in the school setting. No, I wanted to make sure my point was across. No, you're going to have to go to jail because of school code, blah, 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 blah. Now, if this was me, and like a lot of people don't realize off the air, I'm the jerk out of the two of us, and I have a tendency to be more of the direct a-hole. I would absolutely flip the hell out. They would have to drag me out of there. Absolutely drag me out of there. That's my child. That is not something that I'm going to allow you to prove some sort of damn point with. You're not going to humiliate him. Now, listen, if the kid was walking around intentionally whacking people with his cane because he's mad or whatever, for whatever reason, then let's have a conversation about it. I'm sorry it's happened, and I am ready to help fix that problem.
I will help fix that problem
Absolutely.
as a parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I will work with the school. The initiative will come from me.
Correct.
But this is not what appears to have happened. This was the school that went way out of control, and it's your federal dollars, in the end, working for you. And if the administration at that school is not held accountable, and if somebody's not fired over this, I think it's going to be a humongous disappointment. And the ADA is going to have a field day with this, as they should.
I hope so, and I want to follow up on this story because I have not seen any follow-ups to it. I hope the school ultimately returns our call for comment. Otherwise, we can just keep bugging them until we get a statement from them.
Yeah, no, I'm really good at that.
Something other than, I want to interview this knucklehead.
Yeah.
I want to know, because there's no name of the person who did this.
No, amazingly, right?
Weird,
It's
right?
funny how that name gets withheld.
Right.
And like I said, in my heart of hearts...
You know what? Let's do a PRA in case there was any kind of documentation from the school.
You're right. We should do that. I want to see if there was any internal memo sent out.
Hang on. I just want everybody to know how professional that was, that I just utilized PRA.
And I'm still Googling it. Hold on. I'll catch up.
Yeah. No. We use Bing on this show.
I'm binging it.
Thank you.
That sounds weird, but I am. It's sad and insulting to me. And I hope, like you said, we need to follow up on this. And I really want in my heart that this was an idiotic act versus an intentional act. I really want this to just be exactly what I said it was. Somebody who thinks they're doing the right thing, even though they're way off base. But I'm just disgusted. I don't even know what else to say. I'm so furious by this. I don't know why we did this first, because now I'm going to be pissed off the whole rest of the show.
I know, it's perfect. The other statement the kid said is, they said they were going to give me this for the next 2 weeks.
And I don't know. I haven't seen this kid speak.
It's a lot harder with this.
I haven't seen the video. But when you look at that picture, I imagine this to be such a soft-spoken young man. Mm-hmm. Very shy. And whenever you read the quotes, that's how I hear his voice. Just really, it's a lot harder for me.
Here's what was hard for me. I looked at this picture, and he actually looks like one of my boys.
Yeah, we noted that right away.
Yeah, I was like, that looks like my son. And you were like,
yep,
yeah,
sure does.
He actually does.
But that could be anyone's son.
It could be anybody's
son.
And
that's the biggest problem, and that's the biggest concern. And, there's a difference.
I have an observation. I apologize to interrupt. I know why this administrator did this.
Here we go.
Look at the picture. The kid's got a hoodie on.
Oh, is he going after him for the hoodie?
I think he's going after him for the hoodie.
His hands aren't up, are they? Oh, no.
No, they were on a cane that they took away. But he's got a hoodie on. So clearly, the hoodie combined with the violence observed by the bus driver, the school had to take action, right?
This kid had to be taken down.
Yeah.
That's essentially what they went with.
They essentially went with, it was the hoodie defense.
I just remember when I used to go to school. And I can remember my old high school principal, Mr. Tamagna, Mr. T, we used to call him. If the school bus driver brought this into him, he would have snapped on him. Absolutely snapped on him. And he was not an easy guy by any stretch of the imagination, but extremely fair and had a lot of common sense. And I remember not always liking some of the things that I got in trouble for, but I got in trouble for it because I did it. And he would have, I can remember bus drivers complaining about students, bringing them to the office, and he'd yell at the bus driver because he's just being a kid. He's not hurting anybody. Oh, my God, he changed the word to his song to something that was dirty. He's 14. And it was kind of funny.
Right.
Be realistic. And you're the bus driver, and I bet you at 8 years old when you stop, or 6 years old, I'm sorry. No, he's 8.
He's 8.
And being visually impaired, I am sure his parents meet him when the bus gets to the house or wherever the pickup spot is. Mm-hmm. Talk to the parents. If you really think that he was doing this, talk to the parents for 30 seconds. Be like, hey, just so you know, and it could be nothing, it could be something, but it looked like he hit a couple kids with his cane, and I don't know if it was intentional or it was intentional, if you honestly believe. But can you talk to your son about this, solve the problem, right? That would have been the adult thing to do.
Or the bus driver, the conversation goes this way. The kid was hitting people with his cane. Oh, really? How was he doing it? Well, as he was walking down the aisle, he was swinging it back and forth, hitting kids as he went down the aisle in a violent manner.
Right.
Wait, what?
But either way, let's hypothetically.
Hypothetically, the kid gets on the bus, sits down, lifts his cane up,
and whacks people,
and brings it down like Thor's hammer.
No! Stop being silly for a minute.
But no, this is absurd.
No.
So I can be absurd by showing how freaking ridiculous this is. Because you know damn well that this kid was not swinging his freaking cane like Thor's hammer.
Let's say hypothetically, he was being a kid and tapping a few people with it, right? Trust me, I know.
Okay.
Just for a second, humor me.
Sure.
Let's say he was using it inappropriately.
Okay.
You still just talk to the parents, have a quick conversation. He's 8.
And it's an ADA device.
And this isn't, even if he was, and I'm not saying he was, I doubt he was, but even if he was using his cane in a manner that it was not intended to be used, a quick conversation with his parents, and his parents seem like very reasonable and down-to-earth people.
Seem like it.
According to the interviews, it would have been solved. This absolutely would have been solved.
Here's the other issue. He's 8 years old. That cane is a sword half the time, I bet.
I'm older, and the cane would be a sword to me. Exactly.
Sacco's closing the door on the segment. When we come back, you guys all grab a drink.
Yeah.
Relax.
Why don't you grab a Cuba Libre?
When we come back, we're going to talk about how Obama saved the United States
our
from
savior.
the world superpower
Our savior again.
of Cuba.
How did he? What would we be without him?
Back in 3.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid program.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back here to the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the SHR Media Network. This portion of the program is brought to you by Patriot Ordnance Factory, pof-usa.com for the finest in AR-15 platform rifles and tomahawks. Check them out at pofusa.com. And if you're thinking about Christmas gifts, and it is that time of the year, nothing says Merry Christmas like a new tomahawk.
That's not true. A new 308 says Merry Christmas.
I was just thinking stocking stuffers.
And even, what do you mean stocking stuffers?
Like a stocking stuffer gift.
What do you mean? That's Santa's job.
I understand that.
Okay, then why would you even say something like that? I don't even know where you're going with that.
Well, I'm just saying to Santa if he's looking for some last-minute gifts for me.
Wait, Clint, you said you were going to stuff my sock.
No, that's...
No.
That was totally different.
I said with, and then it was something else, not sock.
See, that's why it's, we talk about listening skills, Sacco, and we need to improve on yours because you missed that.
A lot, yeah. I was wondering why you were so excited.
Well...
So, Santa, seeing how you probably just turned us off, but if you are listening, I would love a POF USA Tomahawk in my stocking this year.
You're going to get it, Cole. I'll make sure of that.
So,
Clint... might come through your window. Watch out.
Clint?
Yes?
My friend? Please
What?
tell us again how the Savior saved us from the grips of disaster. How we were so close to the edge of destruction as a country and a planet until the Anointed One himself stepped in, risked life and limb, and put us back.
Wait, Jesus came back?
No, I'm talking about Obama.
Oh, okay.
Some people think it's the same guy, but I would argue.
Look, so I know. Obama essentially came out and said he's charting a new course on Cuba. Cuba.
Cuba.
Can I say Cuba?
Cuba.
On Cuba. And I don't know. I know where I stand on certain parts of this because there's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it.
And it seems like it's just, he's going to lift the embargo, and he can't do that, and Congress is going to stop him, and we'll get into all that. But the White House actually issued a fact sheet from the Office of the Press Secretary, and it outlines. It's about 5 pages long. You can find it online if you want to pull it up. But there's some things that the president's approach, the things they want to accomplish. Now, I'm not saying the president has the power to do this. He can do this. He should do this. Right now we're just in the talking phase, right?
The what if phase.
The what if. This is what the president wants to accomplish. And again, this is from the document, fact sheet, charting a new course on Cuba, from the Office of the Press Secretary of the White House, and it was dated December 17th, 2014. So what the White House hopes to accomplish, according to this document, is to establish diplomatic relations with Cuba. He's instructed the Secretary of State to initiate discussions with Cuba to reestablish those relations. They also want to reestablish within the next few months the embassy in Havana and have Cuba reopen their embassy here. I don't know that I'm necessarily against that. I mean, we have embassies all over the world. We have embassies in Tripoli.
Yeah.
For we had
an embassy in Russia during the Cold War.
Right. So the United States wants to work with Cuba on matters of mutual concern that advance U.S. national interest. Okay. They also want to adjust regulations to more effectively empower the Cuban people. Now, that sounds all warm and fuzzy for a moment, but some of the things they want to do, such as allowing certain travel remittance policies, provide alternate sources of information and self-employment, private property ownership in Cuba, those are things that I actually agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with expanding private property ownership in Cuba. And so they also want to facilitate the expansion of travel under general licenses for the 12 existing categories of travel to Cuba. Basically, it talks about opening businesses, establishing businesses. They want to authorize American citizens to import specified goods from Cuba. You're able to import up to $400 worth of goods. No more than $100 can be combined tobacco and alcohol. But the expansion, they don't say how they're going to do it.
Again.
They don't say how they're going to do it, but they want to, quote, empower the Cuban private sector. And they're talking specifically about Cuban entrepreneurs, agricultural equipment, so that they can have access to certain goods and whatnot. And also allowing or facilitating certain financial transactions between U.S. companies, their subsidiaries in foreign countries, and Cuba. One of the other things that they discuss is the border in the Gulf of Mexico between Cuba, Mexico, and the United States. There's some unresolved maritime boundaries over there that they want to address. And it says they have an unwavering commitment to democracy, human rights, and civil society. So some of the goals actually sound okay.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at the history of kind of how it went down, and our history from Cuba goes back to before our founding.
Oh yeah,
when the British were there, we established trade with Cuba as colonies, and then throughout our revolution, and really the time that is probably more germane now is when Fidel Castro gained power.
Mm-hmm.
And Batista was the president at the time. He was very friendly to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
There was a military coup that restored him to power. He was in power the first time 1940 to 1944, was away for a while, and then military coup regained power in 1952, and remained in power to 1959. President Truman was the president at the time for the United States. That military coup was planned in Florida, supposedly. However, when Batista was there, he was so U.S. friendly that a large portion of Cuba's economy was actually controlled by the U.S. There were U.S. businesses conducting business there, the sugar exports and so forth. And the ambassador at the time basically said that the relationship between the U.S. And Batista was that we didn't have a better friend than Batista at that time. He very much liked the United States, but Fidel Castro comes in, and Che Guevara, the picture on everybody's T-shirt now that they think he's so great.
You mean the murderer?
The murderer, yeah. Comes up and rages war against that government. And the U.S., there was a president. No, I forget his name in Cuba. Manuel something. If it comes to me, I'll
the
say
ambassador.
No.
Oh.
The guy waiting to be the next president of the United States. He urges the United States to stop selling arms to the rebels. And Eisenhower agrees. In 1958, the U.S. government prevented the sales of rifles to President Batista's forces. And the revolution changed. Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, they were supposed to, they seized power. And when Castro seized power, he came over, he actually laid a wreath at the Lincoln Memorial, stared up at Lincoln, made this great big show about how wonderful he was for the people and these sort of things. Well, within a few years, Castro's government began to intervene with and take over privately owned business interests and privately owned U.S. business interests.
Yeah, he was a Lenin and a Marxist.
Yeah, he was a communist. He was a Marxist, and that's kind of where things start going bad. The United States stopped buying Cuban sugar. They stopped supplying Cuba with oil, and here is where Cuba now goes to the Soviet Union for oil, for petroleum.
Yep.
And if you look at, so we just kind of tie this in. If you look at how the original Soviet Union fell, it was because Reagan and energy is what caused the collapse of the Soviet Union. Much like we have, and I don't mean to jump segments, but why they're in trouble again now.
Right.
So Castro turns to the Soviet Union for oil, for petroleum. And so here's where you start seeing now the strengthening of those ties with, you have a Marxist leader in Castro starting to get tied to communist Russia, and American business interests being taken over by the government. Now we have issues, and so now we start running into Bay of Pigs invasions, all these other things.
Assassination attempts.
So we see the embargo come on. We had some presidents that eased them a little bit, some presidents that strengthened them. JFK originally thought that Eisenhower's policy was a little too harsh, but then what happened on Kennedy's watch?
Right, Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, we had Bay of Pigs and Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
So this is just kind of some background in here on this. Throughout the late 60s and early 70s, there were some airplane hijackings by terrorists between the U.S. and Cubans. There were citizens of both nations on board. So we start cooperating a little bit again, right? U.S. officials go back to the island under the Carter administration. We signed some treaties and so forth. And under Ronald Reagan wanted to tighten the embargo, reestablish the travel ban, and so forth, because you still did not have, it was still a communist country. Reagan was a Cold Warrior, right? He didn't want those friendly ties, those ties to loosen. He wanted the Cuban government overthrown. He didn't want to make life, easier for them.
Right.
And here's something that critical that happens. February 24th in 96, there are 2 unarmed Cessna aircraft being flown by a group called Brothers to the Rescue. And they were shot down by Cuban Air Force MiGs, with fighter jets, MiG-29s, and 4 Americans were killed. Cuban government said that the airplanes went into the U.S. Airspace. So here now we have an event, a violent event that really kind of took us back. Yet, again, in '99, President Clinton, reenacted travel bans and so forth. So this is kind of the history between us and Cuba. Now the White House comes out and they want to, raise the embargo and they want to establish trade and so forth. And here I am on a couple things. One, has the embargo worked? Has the embargo worked? Because we really have conflicting policies when it comes to Cuba.
Right.
We fund groups in Cuba. Right? The United States sends money to citizens and certain groups within Cuba.
Yep.
We have a base that is leased through the Cuban government. Cuba at one time was a great trade partner. Granted, it was not under this government, for those of you that are screaming at me right now. But this embargo has not worked. Complicit in conjunction with these conflicting policies, right? Well, now maybe you can trade a little bit. Oh, now maybe we'll lift it a little bit, and we'll give some money over here, but we're not trading with you. You can't buy tobacco, right?
Right.
So the embargo has not worked. You also currently have the Castro, not Fidel, but Raul Castro, who is starting to loosen the reins, although slowly, on
little bit by bit
on private business ownership and so forth. So we're starting to see that. So is it a good opportunity to encourage that? I think it is. Is it a good opportunity for American businesses or entrepreneurs, perhaps, who want to take a risk, obviously, to risk going in and starting to conduct business? Perhaps it is. Is it good to have a trade partner in the region? Look, there are a lot of things.
Benefits.
There are some benefits, absolutely. But the bottom line is the embargo now is not working. And what happened to the Soviet Union? In addition to energy, we gave them McDonald's.
Right.
Right?
The damage was done.
Hong Kong. Leased by the British, right? Yep. Until it reverted back to China. And now China's like, crap, we can't really go back to pure communism because it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that won't fly.
They gave them McDonald's too.
So let's open a McDonald's immediately, if not sooner,
right.
Inside Cuba.
Inside Cuba.
And listen, look at the island, and it's, for people obviously who don't know, it's 90 miles off the coast of Florida to the south. It's about 42,000 square miles. It's tiny. It's really not a lot of population there. There are not a lot of land there. There's 11 million people that live there, though, in that small amount. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Right.
GDP yearly is about $71 billion. And that's not a lot of money. Because
that's a lot. If I had $71 billion, that'd be a lot of money.
Well, I think that runs our government for about 9 minutes.
Right, if that.
And before Castro came to power, I don't know how many people know this, but Cuba was the vacation destination for the entire East Coast. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s, casinos, the beaches, the food, the lifestyle. We used to put a lot of money into Cuba, and that was why one of the reasons why Bastille was so pro-American.
The tourism industry.
The tourism industry was through the roof, and Cuba used to be one of the most beautiful places on the face of the planet.
And that's why
meticulous.
I think you start getting some of that money in there,
and you have that opportunity.
It could open that up again, right?
And I look at this a couple different ways. I kind of think that, and I said this on Ken's show earlier, this is Obama's passive-aggressive note to Putin. If they were roommates, he would leave the note, instead of just going to his roommate and say, hey, you need to do the dishes, he'd leave the note that says, the dishes won't do themselves. That type of thing. I think in a way this is kind of his snub to Putin of, hey, if we can turn them to us, you lose the ability to park your ships there.
Well, there's something else going on here too, right? Who's Cuba's chief trade partner and petroleum?
Russia.
Right now. Well, it's Russia. Well, Venezuela.
In Venezuela.
And what's happening in Venezuela right now? Venezuela is on the ropes, too, because of, again,
their socialist policies.
And the falling gas prices.
Yeah.
Venezuela is the same thing that's killing the Russian ruble is the same thing that's killing Venezuela, and Cuba has nowhere else to turn.
Yeah.
They have to try to turn to the United States. So if this administration plays it right, we actually have a huge bargaining chip in energy.
I agree.
Huge bargaining chip. Now, I don't know that this administration will have the fortitude,
cojones,
right, to bargain or to get concessions that we want in treaty form or whatever.
Even though we have the leverage to do it in a second.
But right now, particularly with the state that Russia is in and Venezuela and our proximity to them, we have huge, huge potential here. The problem that I have, or one of the problems I have, is, again, like I said, I think I see there's positives in this, and I also see there's negatives in this. Mm-hmm. One of the problems I have is the president thinks he's going to do this, or he's trying to start doing
unilaterally.
Things, unilaterally, or, well, I'm going to direct my departments to do whatever. But there's this little problem called the Helms-Burton Act. And he may have a little issue with this because one of the provisions in the Helms-Burton Act, and this was Helms-Burton were two Republicans and passed through a Republican Congress, and signed into law by President Bill Clinton.
Oh. And what did the law do?
Well, one of the provisions is it specifically provides power to the legislative branch to override an executive branch cancellation on the embargo.
Interesting.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
The executive does not have the ability to cancel the embargo.
Ooh.
And it's specifically outlined in law passed by a Republican Congress, signed by a Democrat.
Interesting.
So that's my problem. The other problem I have is that kind of ties into Obama's, unprecedented use of the executive action and executive memorandums, two different things. And if we have time, that's one of our standby segments. We'll get into the difference between those two. So that's where I am right now. I don't like the fact that that the president is having all these talks and doing all these things without congressional involvement. Mm-hmm. However,
and so
look, some of the things he's outlined in that White House press brief. Look, some of it not bad ideas. I think it should still go to Congress,
right?
But I think I'm at a point where I think we as a nation should. The embargo hasn't worked. We already have.
It's okay to look at alternatives.
It is. We already have conflicting programs in place. Look, let's take a hard look at what we as a nation can get from Cuba and what we in return could do for the Cuban people. And because I think we're in a great position right now to do that. I really do.
I do agree. I agree to a point. And like I said, I have a couple issues. I do believe that this is kind of a snub to Russia. I do think that an ally in Cuba gives and listen, I will argue that we are starting to slip into another Cold War. And we need to get out of it.
We've said that for
time
how
and again.
long?
And I think that if Cuba is American-friendly and the Russians are out, that takes that element away. And that was a huge element, them being 90 miles off our coast with a warm water port to sit in, bases, etc. It really helps us out there. As far as economy, any money that Russia loses right now is big money, even though Cuba doesn't have a ton of money that they're giving them. Still, they are a big dollar sign to Russia on some level. Even if 1 year of them,
but more so to Venezuela.
Both, but both. And I'm just talking about the Russian aspect of this specifically. And it also, if we can steal Cuba away from Putin, it shows.
Why do I feel like we're playing a game of Risk right now?
We are. I would like to point out that I think in Obama's head, this is his Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall. He's going after communism. In his head.
He's not going after communism. He's expanding globalism. He's not doing this for the reason of defeating communism. He's doing
in his
this
head,
because
though, that's what he's telling
this
himself.
Because the UN General Assembly wants them.
Or that's what MSNBC is telling themselves.
Right.
They're going to spin this into he's a global crusader.
Yeah.
And listen, there's already a I think it was in the Wall Street Journal. I had it here somewhere. And the title on this was just absolutely stunning to me that they would put this out there. New York Times, here it is. And U.S. to restore full relations with Cuba, erasing the last trace of Cold War hostility.
Oh, yeah, that's the last trace of it.
The last trace.
The last trace. Gosh, could you imagine if we had Russian bombers flying up near Alaskan airspace again, or if we had them flying towards California
subs sitting in the Gulf
again,
of Mexico,
or subs even going into like.
Oh, right, all that's still happening.
Oh yeah, never
but fortunately, this deal with Cuba, if it goes through, will end all that.
What's a cuber?
Cuba.
Is that somebody that cuts things into cubes?
No, he's a Gooding Jr.
Got it. Well, we only have a couple minutes left on the segment. There's one aspect of the story we haven't got on yet, and it's pretty big. But it's the 3 spies that were released for the American Mr. Gross. And these 3 spies were convicted and of espionage, and their espionage actually, I believe, caused the death of one of the Americans, of one American in the 90s. And here we release 3 of these individuals for Gross. That is scary to me. That sends a message.
Yeah, that we're willing to negotiate.
We're willing. Yeah, we're willing to
we
negotiate.
Don't need to negotiate.
We're willing to negotiate and release people. What kind of message does that send to ISIS or Al Qaeda or any of these other terrorist groups?
And I also guarantee you that Guantanamo is going to come up as a
deal.
bargaining chip.
They'll deal. Perhaps. Look, this president has wanted to close Guantanamo for 6 years, and he has not been able to do it.
Right. But if he can open this up, and if he can prove to Congress that this will be a positive thing for the nation,
I don't think he can close Gitmo. I don't believe he's going to be able to.
He
do
may
it.
gain backing on it, though. He has no backing on it. Even most Democrats say you can't close Gitmo.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to gain backing on it. I really don't.
We'll see.
I really don't. If anything, this would maybe even solidify our position there even more. But I don't see him getting backing on that.
Well, like I said, I hope for the Cuban people, and I hope for the sake of I believe in capitalism and I believe in democracy, and if this truly could push the island of Cuba back that way, I think that would be outstanding.
Look, money talks.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, if Russia collapses, more specifically if Venezuela collapses, Cuba is going to collapse.
Mm-hmm. It's already,
It is, but I mean, even worse than it is. Cuba really, their choices are very, very limited on who they can deal with. And we're kind of it right now.
And we're right there.
We're right there. And look, Obama's ready to flush it all down the toilet with his energy policies, no doubt about it. But the energy policies or these falling prices have hurt these two. So Cuba really, we are in a really good position to be able to shape and mold relations with Cuba going forward. If we have a strong administration to do it, I don't think we do. And that's why I say we should also get Congress involved. I know we're getting close.
Yeah, we are up against the break. I have one last thought on Cuba.
No, you don't. You do. Until the door closes, go ahead.
Cuban cigars. We can finally get Cuban cigars.
No, Cuban rum.
Both. I'm all for both.
How about rum first?
Cigar and rum together. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, folks, we'll be back.
I'm rum, you're cigar.
On the SHR Media Network. On the other side, North Korea v. Sony.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border to coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey, welcome back here to the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. I almost didn't make it. You know, I was driving down the street and I almost passed the studio.
Still talking to the fans, listeners, friends of ours.
I apologize.
Not you.
You were looking right at me.
That's because we sit across from each other.
Well, we're sitting in the flying V. Do we not have the flying V?
We do. We are like the Mighty Ducks right here, right now. It's so ridiculous. So, Sony in North Korea. So, it's come out, the FBI said today, that all of the hacks that have been made towards Sony has been by North Korea. It was something that we all suspected. Why? Because Lil Kim is pissy, if you will.
Little Kim. Little Kim Jong unreleased a movie.
Lil Kim's a little bit pissy. And he's a little bit pissy because Sony's releasing a movie called The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco, in which they play two kind of bonehead stoner types who get sent to North Korea, and they're like movie makers or something like that, to interview Kim Jong-un. And the CIA recruits them to assassinate him. Now, first of all, I like stupid movies, and I have a feeling I will enjoy this if I ever get to see it. I have a couple different problems with this.
With the movie?
No, I have a couple different problems with the fact
Little
that
Kim.
Sony... Well, I have a lot of problems with Little Kim. But Sony has now announced they will not do major releases of the movie. They are changing the end of the movie. Apparently the end of the movie was...
I want to see the original.
Was Kim Jong-un's head exploding?
Why? Because he had a thought?
Because he found out he can't eat that much cheese and live. And they changed that, and now they're pulling it. And this is why when we were talking about our nominations for D-Bag of the Week, mine goes to Sony Corp CEO Keizu Hirai.
What?
I can't. I'm horrible. But
not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore. Because he kowtowed, if you will, to the pressure by North Korea. Folks, you've allowed a movie made in the country with the First Amendment, one of the most important things that we have, to be silenced, essentially, because a evil dictator who lives in a house of lavish luxury and has beautiful homes all over the place while the rest of his people starve, gets a little pissy. He gets a little pissy about everything.
that should be his name instead of Little Kim, Little Pissy.
Little Pissy. He's just this chunky little man-child who stumbles around, acts like he knows what the hell he's doing, and he's lost. And listen, North Korea is probably looking at this Cuba deal wondering why they didn't get it. But more importantly, they're really upset over this? Like, is this something where I am a leader of a nation? I'm going to worry about a stoner movie?
Right.
Where they kill me? This is the guy who hangs out with the worm, Dennis Rodman, and he's all pissy about this. It's pathetic. It shows you how ridiculous he is as a human being. Oh, man, I just picture him talking to Hans Bricks, like in the movie. Oh, hello, Hans Bricks. Did you hear about the movie? They blow my head off. And then all of a sudden, that was from Team America, World Police. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden...
You are such a racist.
Oh, come on, it's funny.
You had your fingers to the corners of your eyes when you did that.
But, I mean, if you're a world leader, as this guy is supposed to be... I mean, listen, Canada released a movie a couple years ago called Killing Bush, and it was all about the assassination of George W. Bush.
Right.
People were upset about it because it was taken from a very serious tone.
Right.
It wasn't a slapstick stoner movie, and I keep saying that to prove a point. This is on the lines of Airplane as far as what really has happened and how factual it is. The Naked Gun, Hot Shots, some great other cinema classics such as that. Killing Bush was a very serious look at the assassination of a sitting president of the United States. Almost, you could argue, was conspiracy.
Okay.
On a level. This is a goof, an absolute goof of a movie. So, Lo Kim gets all pissy, and he decides... and he decides that he's going to direct his... Oh, by the way, for everyone who thinks that they're so technologically decimate in North Korea that they can't do anything and their technology's awful, so they'll never get a bomb because they have no technology. They hacked into Sony Pictures, which, by the way, I can't imagine is easy.
Probably the Russians helped them.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt that at all.
That wouldn't...
And then they started releasing email conversations. Correct me if I'm wrong about this.
Okay.
Between executives and producers at Sony, some of which had negative statements against this president, or they were jokes that were taken out of context, or they were just taken a little too seriously.
Right.
Which, that alone is... Oh, by the way, they happen to be all really humongous Democrats and Democrat supporters, etc.,
right,
who are making racist jokes about the president, essentially saying, hey, when I meet the president, should I ask him if he saw Django? No, you should see if he saw The Butler. How does he feel about Roots, et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
What do you think about... there was another movie there, too, and I don't know why I want to say I'm going to get you, sucker, but I know that's wrong, which is just an amazing movie in itself.
That was a great movie.
It was one of my favorites.
Ace of Spades.
Oh.
Need a theme song.
Ooh.
What do you got? You're staring at me in complete and utter amazement right now.
Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. I don't got it. You have it off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'm going to get you, sucker.
Yeah, but no, sing it. Oh, I thought you wanted me to sing it.
No. I'm not going to sing it.
Oh, okay.
That's your job.
Starsky and Hutch.
Starsky and Hutch.
But, okay. Again, private conversations, and I go back to what happened with the LA Clippers. Private conversation that was supposed to be kept confidential, it has been released. Should people say things like that at their workplace? Probably not. Should they use work email? That's an internal issue. That's not up to us. But it does show you just how hypocritical big Democrats can be. And a lot of these people are...
Like big Democrats like Michael Moore?
No. Big Democrats like huge
big,
Democratic supporters.
Oh, I thought... Okay.
You know,
I was getting confused.
So it really kind of highlights that, which I think is funny. And Al Sharpton was interviewed about this. Of course he was, because if you're going to interview somebody about anything semi-racist against the president, you're going to go right to Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton says that this just shows you that Hollywood is like the Rocky Mountains. The higher you get, the whiter it is. And I think that was one of the most amazing statements that Al Sharpton's ever made. Not because it's accurate as much as funny.
Right.
So now we're to the point where Sony's now pulled back. Oh, we're not going to do this release because they hacked us. They're being intimidated by this third world country. They're being intimidated by Lil' Kim, who's all pissy. And instead of stoning up and saying, no, you know what? It's an American movie. We're going to release it. Or have a friggin' sense of humor. If somebody made a movie about me, and at some point my head explodes, I'm going to kind of laugh.
I'm going to totally laugh.
Especially if it's in a slapstick movie.
Right.
Now, listen, if it's 90 minutes on how to track me and kill me and my family, that's a little bit different.
Right.
But if it's all filled with humor and I have two idiots like Seth Rogen and James Franco slapping each other around with hot mops and falling out of windows, and essentially the entire movie is to show how stupid they are,
right?
I'm going to be flattered,
now,
to be honest.
I do have to say one thing.
What's that?
This is a side that we have not considered.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very real possibility. Lil' Kim,
yes,
might have seen the movies or outtakes from the movie, and might have legitimately thought that it was leaked CIA footage of a training academy with a plot to use media to assassinate him. He might have thought this was real, which is why they hacked and said, you will not release this training video.
Or we'll hack you more.
Or we'll hack you more, because this is dangerous.
We will hack you to
What
pieces.
do you think? That's a possibility that's not being discussed.
Anything's possible. And you look at, why we should be nice to North Korea at all, and the answers aren't there. Listen, how many Americans have they kidnapped over the last couple of years and held and caused problems with? Most recently I could think of is the Korean War vet who went back to visit, and then they essentially kidnapped and falsely arrested him. North Korea, until they act serious, we shouldn't take them serious. This hack that they did on Sony Pictures, if I was Sony, I would be paying a whole bunch of individual hackers in Russia right now to go right after North Korea and destroy their computer systems. No, you want to play that game? Okay, we can play that game too. I'm going to clear all the data that you had, all your missile testing data, and all the stuff that you actually gone, wiped off the face of the planet. It's going to all be replaced with Galaga. So no matter what computer you turn on, the only thing you can do, Galaga. Except the little missiles and ships will all be Kim Jong-un's head. That's what I would do.
No, see, I would like it better if it was
Brilliant,
Galaga and all the missiles, or a missile command.
Okay.
Right? Where all of it's a U.S. flag around the top, all the missiles coming in, and then it's like the North Korean flag on the bottom, the one little thing that goes across.
Well, it's amazing to me. Q-Bert. You could have it Q-Bert with Kim Jong-un's head on Q-Bert's legs. How great would that be? Right?
Okay.
Frogger.
Or Dig Dug.
Dig Dug would
be make him do manual labor.
Yes.
No, Sacco. Dig Dug was a game.
No, he knows Dig Dug. He
does not know game. He wasn't born yet.
No.
Sacco, let me
I
explain it to
Dig
you.
Dug.
No, you
Actually,
don't.
I'll tell you a story.
On the retro game?
Yeah.
Oh, Sacco has a story.
Wow. Go
ahead.
I was just going to tell you how I was a championship player in Dig Dug.
No.
Maybe 2 months ago.
Really?
We had a
2
old
nights
school,
ago?
No, 2 months.
Oh.
We had an old school game battle.
Why is it old school? That's like when I was a kid.
Yeah, look at you, you're old.
You're hairy.
Yeah, well, I'm the man. What can I say?
He comes from a culture where the hairier you are, the better you are.
I know, but he wears a merkin also. That's the weird
Compare
thing.
me to Chuck Norris. Who's hairier? Who's manlier?
He's got a point
Who's
there.
manually?
Well, I am more manual labor, too, if you know what I'm saying.
You're dirty. That's not this type of show, Socko.
Can you just tell us
just
the
tell the
story?
story.
Okay, that's not even that
So you
cool.
won the championship.
All I'm saying is I won the championship.
In Dig Dug.
In Dig Dug was the last game we played, and I destroyed Live.
Awesome.
Did you also play Punch-Out?
We didn't play
Did you
Punch-Out.
beat Glass Joe?
I did play Street Fighter.
Remember Glass Joe?
Ooh, Pac-Man version of Little Kim. I like that. Where the little chips are the little dots that he has to eat can be Swiss cheese because he has an addiction to Swiss cheese. His head can be Pac-Man, and the ghost can be Seth Rogen and James Franco. I think that would be a brilliant idea. We should we need to look into this a little bit more. Call
it Hackman.
Hackman
instead of Pac-Man.
Exactly. See, we could go with this forever. Donkey
If
Kong.
Ken designed it, he could call it Black Man.
You could. You could do Donkey Kong, but call it Donkey Jong.
That's too much like donkey junk, and that's just gross.
And you're gonna have Kim Jong Un be be Donkey Kong, and
This influencing me. And you know what's funny, Ken, is he was, and I apologize. Ken, he passed me a note and said, "Read this." And I said, okay, and I had no idea what was on it. And I laughed because I was uncomfortable. I apologize,
for the folks
Ken.
who aren't paying attention, in the chat room right now, the exceptional one himself, Ken McClinton, said that because Clint said the black man joke, that I am influencing Clint.
You are.
To some sort of prejudicial position in life. So I just want to catch everybody up.
Right.
Okay, good.
Because you're the racist.
Apparently, I am just the giant racist. Only because I said, hello.
No. That was
quoting a
tonight.
movie.
There is every single show you say something racist.
Name one.
Black guy.
Ken McClinton.
See? This is not Jeopardy.
Oh, I thought it was. I thought we were playing a game.
No.
Oh, okay. So listen, I don't know why Sony just doesn't go ahead with the release. It's a farce movie.
Because there's
Airplane was.
It's Sony. Like, you have computer skills.
I know. Attack those bastards.
Right?
Do what this president won't. And you know what? If you clean them out, if you're Sony, so what if we fine you for doing some sort of international stupid thing? You can pay the fine and be done. But if you're Sony, Lil' Kim will never mess with you again.
No.
When he goes to turn on his boom box, and the only thing that'll come out of it...
It's a boom box?
Yeah, exactly. When he goes to turn on his boom box or his Coleco, and it's just his head just laughing over and over again, or just something ridiculous like that, he's going to get the message. You know,
Kim Jong-un is so worried about, Little Kim is so worried about image. If we could do like him on a dress or like a jib-jab thing with him and release it over there, just like do an airdrop of leaflets with like Little Kim and like,
do an airdrop. You know what? If I was Sony, I would do an airdrop with iPads, and that movie would be on every single one of them for free. Think about that. Right? You want to talk about propaganda? You're Sony. You get some cash. You want to start fighting back, which is what I would do if I was Sony. I'm going to push back a little bit.
Right, drop leaflets that with like Photoshop. They don't understand Photoshopped images. Photoshop Kim Jong-un in compromising positions.
Really? Those people don't understand it, huh, Clint?
Yeah. Those North Koreans. Those communist, repressed North Koreans. Those people do not understand
I would drop, if I was Sony, I would drop 10,000 iPads. What's that going to cost you? $400 a piece, so $40,000, right? All of them would have that movie already preloaded on it, charged. And I'd drop them right into towns all over the place. Let everybody start watching the movie. And Ken has a really good point, too, is attach $1,000 bills, maybe $100 or a couple $1,000, something like that. And just absolutely undermine everything that Kim Jong-un does. Can you imagine if they start showing up with $5,000 in North Korea? Even if it's North Korean money. But all of a sudden, like, all these peasants start having more money than half the government officials and stuff like that. It would drive them insane. And Ken also has a good point, is you do the hack, you do the iPad drop, you get all the penalties that you're going to end up paying because our country would be assholic enough to actually penalize them for it, and then turn around and make a movie about the incident and make all that money back for the movie.
Oh, yeah. That would be hilarious.
Sony is missing such a huge opportunity to get such a large American backing.
They are, but you know what? Sony, because they're such liberal douchebags,
right?
They almost deserve the money they're losing on this because they are making the decision.
Right.
They
And
don't
it's
have
sad.
they don't have the testicular fortitude to move forward, push the movie out.
I so
and,
would.
and take them to task. Oh, so would I.
Oh,
so would
man.
I. And take them to task.
Can you?
So what they do is they back down. They want to. We want to get along. We're scared now. There's really real bad people out here. Yeah, there are. Stand up to them. Don't cow down to them.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right?
And listen, guys like this, if you put it back in his face, he's going to go away. He'll never bother you again. Because if you really prove to his people in the country
I
that
have an idea.
you can shut him up, he's going to get embarrassed. I mean, he may lob a couple artillery rockets at South Korea because...
But we're not there.
Well, but
No,
they can
I'm just
respond.
kidding. I love that. So look, I have an idea. So you Photoshop Kim Jong-un, and you put like a little marshmallow, like not a big marshmallow, but like one of those little marshmallows you put in hot cocoa. And you put that where his schmeckle would be. And you drop that.
Oh, man. It's just sad.
And you just embarrass him and demean him to his own people.
It's just sad. So, Sony, you're my douchebag of the week.
I think I like that one.
For not releasing the movie, for not standing up for this to this little Kim who's all pissy about nothing. And little Kim, this message is straight to you. Grow a pair, dude. Just grow a pair and have a sense of humor.
Better yet, prove you have a pair and show them. Hang some brain with your picture there so we know it's you, and send it to Sean at shrmedia.com.
Yeah.
And so that we can, in fact, prove to our listeners that you do, in fact, have a penis and testicles.
Hello. I love that movie. Sorry.
Ken said that it should be Scarlett Johansson or Angelina Jolie killing Lil' Kim. That would be the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was Scarlett Johansson.
And Angelina, we can find
And
something.
Angelina,
to
we
put
can
her
find,
in.
yeah.
You know what? Maybe if halfway through the movie they just mud wrestled.
Right.
Because you know how in every buddy movie they have that fight?
Right.
And they have to get over it, become friends again, and then solve the mission?
Right.
I think that could be the fight. Like they're arguing walking through North Korea during the rainy season.
Right.
And they both fall into a mud puddle together, and one blames the other one for tripping them, and they start fighting. Just saying.
I got a different kind of movie planned for that scene.
Oh, okay.
With those two.
All right. Well, I mean, we.
I
Can
was
talk
thinking
about
like
that
G.I.
off here.
Joe, right? Like Baroness. But see, because you
Oh.
thought I was going somewhere dirty with
No,
that.
I didn't.
Like Baroness and Scarlet.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Scarlet and Lady J. Working
Right.
together.
Right.
Absolutely.
Either one.
Man, I don't know why we're not in charge of the world.
And then Roadblock comes in. And Ken says,
Have you ever seen, this is totally off topic. So you know at the end of G.I. Joe, they always do the public safety announcement?
yes, pork chop sandwiches.
Yes. Have you seen, the hacks? So they've
Yes.
gone through and they've redone all of those.
Yes.
Oh, that is just one of the funniest damn things. And it's a couple years old. I know I'm outdated, but it is one of the funniest damn things I'd ever seen.
Outdated. It's a couple years old, the hacks. We were listening to Sugar Hill Gang at the start of the show.
That's
By the way,
current.
I'm very surprised that we did not get props
For
from
Sugar Hill
Ken
Gang?
for listening to Sugar Hill Gang Rapper's Delight at the beginning of the show.
I know. But I think Ken had a little bit of a technical issue at the beginning. So
I have a technical issue.
You do all the
Technically,
time.
Ken did not give us props for listening, and that was mostly for his benefit.
It was all for his benefit, as a matter of fact. We played 10 minutes straight of Sugar Hill Gang.
Right, in the background while we were waiting for, and it carried on. I didn't know the mics were on.
Right.
Sacco never gave us the high sign.
And we were dancing, which, by the way,
We were dancing.
Ken's theme song, which we talk about all the time, is just the best theme song.
So in the chat room, Ken says, only white people can listen to the first 10 minutes of SHR. Ken, just so you know, you are honorary Caucasian.
Ken,
Yes,
I'm hurt.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm hurt. I
You
have to come
are-
out the cage to let you know that. I expect more out of you than to be
A racist.
Yes.
A racist,
Horrible.
Obama-like,
Horrible.
Holder-esque.
But anyhow, we
Hate
do
monger.
love you, Ken McClinton. And I had an idea before we went on the air while we were listening to your theme song as to a contest that you could do on your show. It involves your theme song. You challenge all your listeners.
We did. This was a great idea.
To play your theme song, and you should make it downloadable separately on your website, and be able to play their theme song and have a dance-off on video, and then submit them to YouTube and obviously link them to you, and you can pick the best one and give away some exceptional conservative swag. I think we could actually have some Sackhead swag that we could throw into that mix if you wanted to do that. So videotape, the exceptional conservative theme, and a contest, and you get to pick the winner. I absolutely, and by the way, Clint and I would have won hands down.
Oh,
if you videotaped us
hands
just before we
down
went on the air.
I'll tell you, and this is all kidding aside, Sean and I can actually dance.
Yes.
Like, all joking aside, we actually have some moves. And
no, really, go on with this truth-laden statement.
This is great. So we can, and we had, look, you did that one thing. I'm serious. When the Kid and Play came out, look, we did the typewriter. We walked the dog.
Yep, I did the spigot.
We did the hustle.
Yep.
It was amazing, and all the things you can do with this beat in the Sugar Hill Gang.
But we also did to Ken's theme, which is even better.
Which was even better.
I wrangled for Ken's theme tonight, which is an individual dance myself.
You did. Ken keeps talking about hands up, don't shoot.
Right. Ooh, the funky chicken. No, but you know what? When I submit my
How's
video,
about hands down and submit? How about that?
How about just doing what you're asked to do? And
Right.
If you haven't done anything wrong, there won't be a problem. If you've done something wrong, take your medicine and go on.
Right.
And listen, we haven't talked about this really much. We haven't talked about this whole since the NYPD release of the non-indictment. We haven't really covered a lot of this. And it's amazing to me how many people are starting to get aggravated with these protests. If you read Twitter, social media, Facebook, anything in the public, there's been people writing in articles on op-eds about how annoyed they are with these protests all around the country because all they're doing is fanning flames of hate that should not exist. People aren't reading facts. There was a great article on actually CNN's page by a black police officer, female. I forget her name, but she wrote...
That doesn't exist.
But she wrote, I lead two lives. I'm a police officer in St. Louis, and I'm a black female. And that was kind of a really good article, if you have a chance to read it. But all these protests are doing is furthering lies and divide amongst our country.
They are. Look, they are. And, I'll tell you what, with the New York non-indictment, look, nobody was there to see all the grand jury testimony, okay? We talk about our system and we have to have faith in it, and then you have even on Fox News,
Got to have faith.
Bill O'Reilly, and you would listen to him. You have Bill O'Reilly and some of these other commentators, even on Fox, talking about how they think there should have been an indictment in New York. I don't think people realize how long that incident went on for.
Oh, no.
That guy was 300-plus pounds.
16 minutes or
6
something
foot,
like that?
6'4".
Yeah, he was a big guy.
Big guy, the guy that could knock you out in one punch, take your gun, and do very bad things to you. And this guy, for 14 minutes, probably because it was a lower grade offense, for 14 minutes they went on trying to get this individual to comply and get into custody.
Yep.
And that is, for those of you that don't know, Sean and I have several friends who are police officers, and we talk to them at length about a lot of different things. 14 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah.
When you're on the side of the road with somebody and you are trying to take them into custody and you're dealing with this situation. It is a long, long, long time.
Just think about how long 14 minutes is at the DMV and multiply that by 1 million.
Right. So these officers are there. One of them finally grabs around the head area and neck, not locking the throat, to take this individual to the ground and rides him to the ground. Because with a guy that big, unless you're going to beat him with batons, and could you imagine how that would look?
Oh, yeah.
This guy was huge, had health issues.
It'd be like chopping down a tree.
Yeah. Health issues, big guy. He probably was going to have issues with this. He made the decision to fight. But you're going to hit him with a baton? No. Are you going to tase him? I don't even know if New York has tasers.
I don't know.
So they have to go hands-on.
Right.
And he takes him down the most effective way he does. They get him in custody, and the guy's saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. People lie to cops all the time to try and get out of handcuffs and fight again or resist or run.
Rule of thumb is,
if you can talk, you can breathe.
Right. If you've ever done any sort of martial arts training, anything like that, they'll tell you that.
They called EMS. And so there's so many factors that people don't even talk about. Well, they just didn't have to do that. It was such a low grade. Well, you still have to take the person into custody. He still made the decision to resist for 14 minutes. And I think the officers used the force that they saw fit. They had to take him at one point. You have to do something.
Yeah.
And I think going hands-on with him was the least intrusive in their minds, and I don't think that's unreasonable. So, but these pundits, and I bring Bill O'Reilly up again, has no idea. Never walked a beat, has no idea.
Nope, and they think they do. And that's the sad part is, and one more thing real quick about these protests, and this happened in Sacramento, and I heard through a friend of mine who watched it happen. When you are trying to protest to save lives, and you walk up the freeway the wrong way in traffic with children and strollers and young children in front as traffic's flying down at you at 100-something miles an hour, and that's your way to preserve life, you're an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
That was on the news here. It happened locally. I have friends that watched it happen. Infants and strollers up the on-ramp in the name of what? Nothing at the end of the day. Folks, we're going to be back in 3 minutes here. When we come back, we're going to talk about... I love the title of this segment. It's just called, Help Me, I'm Falling, quote unquote. And
that's a quote.
A quote.
From
the Ruble.
Right.
And we'll talk about that and more here on the SHR.
We're going to talk about Obama getting spanked, too.
Spanking Obama. Sacco, play me out, baby.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we're back, Sackheads Radio Show. I am Sackhead Clint, your host.
Are you?
I am your host.
Oh,
I am
you
one
are.
of. I am one of two hosts, and there's one producer, which is you.
No, I'm not a producer.
Yeah, you are.
No.
Did you ever come up with that song that we asked you to do?
No.
That's no.
I wanted to be honest. I thought about it, and then something happened.
What happened? That sounds like you sounded like there was a story there.
You have no idea.
So tell me.
I can't. No, it's one of those stories where it's not appropriate.
It's SHR. This is the Sackheads Radio Show.
I don't know. No, I'll tell you afterwards. We got a half hour.
You sure? Does it involve, like, Crisco? Are we talking like that kind of inappropriate? Like Crisco, a midget clown, and a donkey? Is that what we're talking about here?
Everything besides the donkey, yeah.
Okay. On that note, I just got such a visual right now, just so you know. Where you're sitting there in your little heart boxers, and in walks the midget.
I'm glad you know I have heart boxers.
In walks the midget in a clown mask. And you say, yes, it's time to get the party started with the donkey and the balloons and the bubble machine.
That's exactly what distracted me. Yeah.
You are so inappropriate, Sacco.
What's wrong with you?
How do you even come up with this stuff? Are you broken? Hey, so this week a federal judge found Obama's immigration actions unconstitutional in a completely unrelated ruling. I'm not even reading the chat room right now because I would probably just lose it. U.S. District Court of Appeals Judge Arthur Schwab out of Pennsylvania filed an opinion that in one of his rulings he basically said that Obama's actions on immigration, he issued an executive memorandum, not an executive order. Executive orders typically will quote or cite the law that they're based upon, and they're numbered. Executive memorandums, they're not numbered. They do not cite the law that they're based on. My understanding is these executive actions on immigration were issued as executive memorandums, which makes sense, and because he doesn't have the law to back it up. And he called the Obama's actions on immigration invalid, and essentially said that they amounted to legislation from the executive branch, which obviously is prohibited by the Constitution. One of the quotes from the judge's opinion says, President Obama's unilateral legislative action violates the separation of powers provided for in the United States Constitution, as well as the Take Care Clause, and therefore is unconstitutional. The thing that's interesting about this opinion, though, is this was not a case that was a direct challenge to his policies. This was a case that came across against an illegal immigrant, a criminal alien from Honduras, who was deported previously in 2005, was caught in the United States again this year. He pled guilty in the case to re-entry of a removed alien, and the court, this judge, examined how Obama's executive memorandum impacted this case. And in doing so, he made this ruling and said that the executive actions themselves were unconstitutional in this case. So
they sent it back again?
No, look, the right is hailing this as, this is unconstitutional. It's basically just a judge's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The memorandum, this law, quote unquote, has not been challenged directly. But because this was an immigration-related case, this judge, who, to be fair, was a Bush appointee, decided to look at the impact these changes would have on this process and in this case, and in doing so, made the ruling that the executive action was, in fact, unconstitutional. I want to check a look in the chat room. I think Ken's drinking because I think he misspelled a few of those words, and I don't know what it says. So the Justice Department, of course, is upset. The Justice Department does not agree with this judge's ruling. The Justice Department issued an opinion and said, quote, "The decision is unfounded and the court had no basis to issue such an order. No party in the case challenged the constitutionality of the immigration-related executive actions, and the department's filing made it clear that the executive actions did not apply to the criminal matter before the court. Moreover, the court's analysis of the legality of the executive actions is flatly wrong. We will respond to the court's decision at the appropriate time." Well, that's interesting that the administration, the Justice Department, is saying that the legality is flatly wrong when Obama himself has said numerous times prior to doing these actions that he couldn't take action because it's illegal for him to do so. So I think it's interesting that he knew it was illegal. Justice Department knows it's illegal, but they're not going to call it illegal, and that's why they put it on an executive memorandum instead of an executive order, which has to be numbered and have the basis of law written in it. The conservatives, though, the right, says, hey, the president's unilateral executive action suspending the nation's immigration laws for roughly 5 million illegal aliens has received its first judicial test, and it has failed. That is from a Chapman University law professor, John Eastman. And majority of that information came from FoxNews.com article entitled Federal Judge Obama Administration Actions Unconstitutional. A lot of good information in there. And you can check a lot of other sources as well on this. So,
wow,
Sacco, you're just staring at me in complete
I'm just
awe.
listening to your story because I'm curious to see how the U.S. eventually responds to more and more cases of this.
Okay. So, look, I think that there is, when Obama himself has said in the past that it's illegal, I don't think there's any way these are going to stand up any kind of constitutional test or any kind of judicial review.
Well, for now, maybe they won't, but it looks like it's eventually going to if he makes an executive order or writes it into law. Or
he can't write it into law, though, right?
Well,
I mean, that's not his function under the Constitution.
Technically, he can't. But how many illegal things has he done so far? He'll find a way around things, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not.
And this is why I like getting your perspective, because and this isn't. Look, you really don't like politics. You don't care about politics one way or another.
Right. Well, right? I care, but I'm not as enthused as you guys would be.
You don't. You really don't follow it.
I don't. No, I don't follow it as closely as you guys do. What are you saying to Sean over there?
I'm saying he looks really hot.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to say it on air.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh my gosh.
So, I think you both make some very valid points. I really do. I think you guys have nailed it. Sacco, it's always
Which part exactly did we nail?
Well, Sacco's opinion was an interesting opinion. I thought it brought a lot of conversation to the table. And
No, but I mean, which part of the story specifically?
The first part.
Did you think was the most germane?
I think the beginning was the most germane to the topic.
Like, what point specifically? Like, is it interesting, the difference between memorandums and executive order and orders? And so, how do you find that he has used that in order to kind of squirm his way around the law?
Well, we've seen a lot, and especially most recently with the immigration. But you're not even talking about that. So we're talking about. I thought we were talking about the court action in which the federal court spanked him.
Yeah, we were. Okay. That's what I mean. What part of that did you find?
Well, you already covered all that. I don't want to go back to it. That's boring for the
that's
listeners.
fair. That's fair. Second story. We have a direct quote from the ruble.
Yes.
And it says, help me, I'm falling.
Russia's economy is going into the toilet.
Speaking of going into the toilet, Venezuela's also gone into the toilet.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit last segment.
Yeah,
but I don't mean to.
Venezuela might as well be just like Star Ginger at this point. But Russia's economy is taking a massive hit, and it's continuing to take a massive hit. It's going downhill quicker than they know even how to control, and I know a lot of it has to do with Putin not being the most popular man in the world right now.
Did you say Poopin?
Poopin.
Okay.
No, Putin.
Oh. He looks like Tintin to me.
Tintin.
Do you remember Tintin?
Yes.
Everybody Google a picture or Bing a picture of Tintin if you don't know what Tintin looked like, and then look at Putin and think young Putin.
Oh, man.
Am I wrong?
No, I think you're 100% right. I think it's...
I'm pretty sure Tintin was based on Putin when he was in the KGB.
Right.
When he was about 30 years
the little
old.
hair flipped up in the front. And,
right. And that's what, the adventures of Tintin.
And this does kind of dovetail nicely into the Cuba story earlier. Cuba. In which...
And Sokka looks like Captain Haddon. Everybody Google or Bing Captain Haddon.
In which their falling economy, again, may end up being their undoing long term.
Well, yeah.
If you're Putin right now, you have to be worried. And this military buildup that he's trying to do and a lot of money and resources that he's spending trying to show that his military's up and running, ready to go, ready to act, is hurting his people even more. All these embargoes and sanctions that have been laid upon them for the Ukraine crisis and all that has really hurt them as well. Like you said, if they lose money from Cuba, that'll do some damage to them. And the ruble's going back to where it was during the end of the Cold War, and I forget, it was maybe 3 cents to the dollar or some ridiculous amount of money. And it's starting to head back that way. And listen, their resources are not really they have some vast resources, but they don't know what to do with it, especially natural gas. They're spending money ridiculously. They have some taxation issues. Do you think do you think that if their economy absolutely tanks and hits as bottom as it can go, that the people of Russia will actually vote out Putin?
No, because the elections there are rigged.
Right. That's number one. Number two, did you know that Putin was voted Man of the Year in Russia for the 15th year in a row?
Yeah.
115% of precincts reporting.
Right.
I really think that we need to keep the pressure on Putin, but I still think that he's crazy enough to keep going. And I really think that he's going to move further in the Ukraine. I think he's going to try to move further through Eastern Europe, get back the old bloc countries, if you will, the best he can. I think you're going to start seeing him deal more off trying to ship out natural gas, anything he could do to make as much money as he can, because until he gets back certain members of the old bloc that actually produce money, he doesn't have a lot less and a lot left. And I think at some point his people are going to actually give up on him, because now that they've tasted their good economy that they had for a few years, and now that they've understood free market and dabbled in free market a little bit, if his policies – and listen, the people of Russia are better off now than they were under communism. There's no doubt. There's some poor parts of Russia.
Right.
But overall, I mean, you just have to look at pictures of Russian parties and stuff like that to realize that they're much more progressed now than they ever have been, and that was due to the fall of communism and capitalism being allowed. If he starts to hurt their economy so bad that they start to dwindle back to the end of the Cold War era fiscal ways in which they have no money in the breadlines and the people don't have any money, the government holds the money, et cetera, I think you will start to see a shift in the mentality of Russia overall. And just like economics really just kind of destroyed Russia in the Cold War, I think you're going to see that again destroy Putin. And we've said before, and I'll say it again, is I make no bones that Putin's trying to get the band back together again. He's trying to push it as far back to communism as he possibly can, and maybe even do like a social communism hybrid with some capitalism like China. And I've said that before, I say it again. But if he can't keep his people on board, if his people start to get pissed and revolt, and his people really start hammering him, if he wants to stay in power, I don't even know if his military is really strong enough as he thinks it is to stand up against his own people. I think it would be their undoing. And look, everyone in Russia's got a gun now. If you it doesn't, you don't have to search hard on the internet to find pictures. Everyone's got weapons in Russia now, and I think that they would actually start to fight back. And I really think that that's something that you have to watch out for. And this deal with Cuba could hurt them even more. So we're going to see what's happening. But I think I think you're really going to see the undoing of Putin through economics if he doesn't learn his lesson.
Well said. We cover Russia all the time, right? I hope their currency collapses.
I do too.
I hope it goes completely in the toilet, where they can't fund their military and all the crap they're doing. They can't fly their bombers close to our borders. They can't sail their subs anymore all around globally throughout the oceans. You disagree with me?
Yeah, I disagree with you.
You think the Russians should be able to fly bombers real close to our shores?
No. About the economy.
Really?
Really?
You're
wrong. Mute your mic. As I was saying...
Never mind.
No, I want to hear what he says.
I wasn't done.
No, he wasn't done. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I don't even know where I was going now.
Come on, don't get all pissy.
No, I'm honestly trying to remember where my head was going there.
You were saying you hope they collapse.
Oh, and thank you. The other thing is, because we need to then complete the pipeline, drill here.
Drill, baby, drill.
And we need to frack.
Yeah.
And we could then, our economy would
explode.
Oh my gosh, it would completely explode. And then they would be reliant on us and and Europe and so forth to supply them for oil. And look, Putin is evil. I don't trust him. I think once he's out of power, we can get somebody in who's not an old Cold Warrior and actually have good relations with that country.
Right.
And that's why I say it, not because I want the people to suffer, but because I think if it collapses short term, long term, the people of Russia will be better off as a result. Go ahead, Saki.
All I was going to say is I hope that their economy dwindles down to a point to where they need to rely on us, or not just crash completely to where people are starving and they don't have anything going for themselves. Which in return will eventually make them rely on us or on people around them. But if we get to a point to where we
I don't want them
or
to
on their
talk to
trade
us,
or
right. I don't want them to rely on us. I want them to rely on themselves. But I don't want this lunatic Putin.
Right, and the point is, while Putin's in power, there's no way they're going to ever rely on us or have good trades.
Right, and
because
I would agree with you there.
But just because people are people, not everyone's horrible over there. It's just the politic. And
yeah, no, I agree. I know. I'm not saying anything against the Russian people. I'm saying against specifically Vladimir Putin and his government and the policies they have. And listen, he's already hurting his people through his policies. He's done it before. The Russians are notorious for hurting their people through policies and the way their governments run. You look at World War II, and you see that's the epitome of Russia, and Putin's no different. If it was time to go to war, he would absolutely be putting conscripts in war, and essentially, if you don't fight, you die. We'll kill you. You know what I mean? Putin doesn't care about his people. He cares about Putin. So you need to find a way to get – but the people of Russia are very jaded. There's still some of the Cold War mentality in some people in Russia. Some people in Russia think that our way of life is ridiculous, and there are some people that just hate us because we have been made into the great evil in this world by some countries. But Putin does all he can, and there's still propaganda in Russia. They do all this stuff. He does all he can to make himself the most important and most effective person in their eyes. Meanwhile, he hurts them repeatedly, nonstop.
It's almost like he's a Marxist.
It's weird, right?
It's almost like he's a communist.
Oh, but yeah.
I'm tired. Let's end this with like some general jackassery or some lighthearted stuff.
Some
Hey, I got something lighthearted. Did you see the Fox News poll that came out on presidential elections? This is really lighthearted. It's going to make everybody feel really good. Front runner for Democrat is Hillary Clinton, 62%.
Mm-hmm.
Next closest was Elizabeth Warren, 12%, and Uncle Joe was third with 10%. This is going to make you feel really, really good who the top 3 are in the Fox
Poor
News poll
Uncle
for the
Joe.
Republicans. Ready?
Yeah. I feel bad for him.
Mitt Romney, 19%. Jeb Bush, 10%. Chris Christie, 8%. Rand Paul, 8. Huckabee, 8. Scott Walker, 7. Ben Carson, 6. Paul Ryan, 6. Ted Cruz, Rubio, John Kasich, Rick Perry, Bobby Jindal, Rick Santorum. So, look, we know the Republican establishment is stupid enough to push Romney, Bush, or Christie.
Yes. I think that's a done deal.
We know that, but look at the numbers. Romney, Bush, and Christie make up roughly 38%, right? The rest of the conservatives, Rand Paul, Scott Huckabee, Ben Carson, Paul Ryan, they make up over 50%.
Mm-hmm.
The conservatives could win the primary.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to galvanize behind one conservative and pool a lot of resources. I was a little disheartened at first when I saw this poll come out, just because of who the top 3 were. But afterwards, I looked at the numbers and I said, you know what? If there was one conservative, and I know ego's going to play into some of these folks, right?
Right.
If people could galvanize and support one conservative,
Mm-hmm.
they may be able to take that.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe that. I think they can.
But again, this to me is, you look at the Democrats in the top 3, and that's all that's really being talked about is the top 3. There's that other guy that we've talked about from time to time who's popped in, but there's those top 3. Elizabeth Warren has already said that she is not running in 2016. So now it's really 2. And I think this poll was done before Elizabeth Warren made those statements. She just made them this past weekend.
Right.
So now it's the top 2. But look at what the Democrats do. They don't flood the field with 30-something people.
No. They
take their 2 best that they believe for their party, or 3 best that they believe their party can get behind and win, and that's it. They don't let them get flooded. Look at what the GOP does. They let everybody who thinks they're important, some are, some aren't, including people that should have gone away and have run twice and lost, and they let them throw their hat in the ring instead of talking to them and saying, hey, at this point, the best thing you could do is get us votes. We know, you're not going to win. It doesn't matter how bad Obama is. It's who you're up against. Because when it comes to 2016, that's what it's going to end up being about. It's not going to be – we've already had the referendum on Obama twice with the 2 different midterms. 2016 is going to be about electing a new president.
So here's what we do. No more president and vice presidential tickets. Top vote getter, electoral vote getter, president, second, vice president.
I'm for that.
Just like we used to do it in the good old days. Stop strumming your microphone.
I can't help myself.
I can hear that.
Well,
2 minutes left. No, I don't want to talk about anything heavy anymore. I've had it heavy enough. We have a minute and a half left. Let's talk about something lighthearted.
Don't cut me off.
Arise! Sirloin of beef.
I have a proposition for you, Clint.
Yes.
You and me.
$25.
You and me, and I'll record this Dig Dug one-on-one. Whoever gets the most points.
Oh, my.
No, you'll win.
Why?
You win.
You're
win.
young, remember?
No,
you
good job. No, good job. You win. I'll tell you what. Here's what we're going to do.
It'd be a smackhead showdown.
Here's what. You and I
could narrate.
1,000-yard range, 308.
Let's do it.
168 grain bowtail
Challenge
hollow
accepted.
point.
You just have to pay for my bullets and provide the gun.
I'll pay for your bullet and I'll provide the gun, but I'm not dialing your dope in on the scope.
I don't need to dial in. I'll do it blind.
All right.
I'll do it blind.
I'll close my eyes.
You know what the best part of that whole conversation was?
What's that?
As soon as he leaves here, Sacco's just going to said everything you he's going to Google everything you just said because he has no idea what you're talking about.
Don't worry. I
know he's like dope. Are we going to like do cocaine or something?
I'm in the field of technology. You do realize there's technology.
You said doo-doo.
Doo-doo. I won't even tell you. Hey, be careful. There might be doo-doo on your trunk.
You kidding me? I saw the back of your pants when you walked in and sat down.
I know. I'm saving it for you.
Who you calling Pooh Butt? Pooh Butt?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this ever-mature, popular radio show.
Sacco just got a new nickname, Pooh Butt.
Right next to Pooh Butt.
Please check us out next Tuesday night.
I'm going to press the button now.
give me a minute to finish.
Ken just...
I know, Ken just threw
That's
down.
not the first time you've said that.
But we're up against the end, and I got to get all this stuff out of the way.
We'll
be here next Tuesday at shrmedia.com,
Wait,
7 p.m.
might
Pacific
not be.
time. Oh, we're most likely going to be
7
here.
Pacific?
8.
You
What did
said
I say?
7.
I don't know. I figured we're doing everything an hour early. And
Go for it.
8 p.m. Pacific, next Tuesday evening here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out all the other great shows, The Exceptional One, Rooster Crows at Night, Jersey Joe, and the Evan Miller Report. Check out all of our good friends on Facebook and Twitter. We will see you next week.
Just be done.
Shut up.
Me with this?
Shut up.
Go on,
I have to go on and on and on.
What happens when we get more shows?
It's called
do the last 30-minute readout?
It's called paying the bills there, Slappy. Hey. At this point, why don't you play your nose like a trumpet? Just grab the side of it. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, that's my job. Oh my God, I can't believe that I actually do my job. Instead of just flapping my gums like some sort of weirdo, my nose bouncing off everything. Oh, look at how important I am. I'm Clint. I'm going to talk over you. Honk, honk, honk. That's my nose touching the microphone.
Look at me. I'm shot my belly. See this? I got more air and lung capacity.
That's just mean.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.